All right. Hey, excited to get together with you guys right after Christmas. Hopefully you're all warm. I know a lot of people up north had a lot of cold weather. And so we're going to stay warm tonight. We're going to talk about something that should warm you up, which is the new year. And I'm really excited about this. You know, I hear a lot of people talking, and even I've done this in the past, so I'm guilty of it. Talked about the next year being the best year yet, and all these great things are going to happen. And then I didn't go out and do anything different from the previous year. And what I want to encourage you to do is to not make that same mistake that I've made, and to actually go out and do something different. And so we're going to talk a little bit tonight. I've got my notes right here, so we're going to be super informal, but just want to add as much value as I can for you going into the new year so you can get your new year off just right. Tonight we're going to talk about what I do each year with my companies, and kind of how I prepare and plan those companies for the new year. We're going to talk about what's coming up in 2023. I'd also like to hear what you guys have coming up in 2023 in the comments, so make sure to drop them, and I'll be looking at them throughout the call. And then also mistakes that I've made in the past year that, and I wish I could go through all of them, but I've made so many probably, I can't remember half of them. And on top of that, we don't have time for all those tonight, but I'm going to give you some of the key mistakes that I've made in the past that slowed down my growth, that maybe stopped my goals from happening, and hopefully you can then learn from those mistakes and do better this year. So let's go through a meeting structure. I want to start out with this, because a lot of times we say at the end of the year, we got to have this big planning meeting, or we got to have these big goals, but really your annual goal is managed throughout the year. So let me just kind of give you an idea of what our meeting structure looks like throughout the entire year to lead up to the end of the year to make sure that we hit the goals that we set. First, we do weekly meetings, and we have multiple weekly meetings. Our weekly meetings we have a leadership meeting, we have a community manager meeting, we have an acquisitions team meeting. And so what this weekly meeting looks like is it's got KPIs that we report on. We have KPIs that we report on. We have issues that we go through and resolve together as a team. We have tasks and things that we've all been assigned to accomplish from the previous week that we work on accountability, and then we set new tasks for the following week. And it's kind of this ongoing routine meeting every single week that keeps us on track for the month and ultimately the quarter. So we have a weekly meeting, then we have a quarterly meeting, and in those quarterly meetings we talk about you know, how did we do that quarter? Did we hit our, what we call goals, but also did we accomplish some of the projects that we had set out to accomplish that quarter? And we go through that. So keep in mind, all of these weekly and quarterly meetings lead up to the annual goals. And it's really important that everyone is in a weekly meeting, whether it's leadership all the way to your community managers, or, you know, if you have other type of staff, everybody's got to be in a weekly meeting because it all flows up to the top, right? And so we do the weekly meetings to the quarterly meetings, and then we have an annual meeting. And that annual meeting typically looks like, what did we do right last year? What did we do wrong last year? What are we trying to accomplish in this next year? And then we also line it up with what I'll talk about here in a minute, which is business plans and budgets, okay? But it's really important to get the team together on an annual basis as well, and make sure that you're resetting together. I'll talk about one of the mistakes that I made around that a little bit later on as we talk here. But what's really important is that everybody's in a meeting, that you have these on a routine basis. And then what you're going to do is on the annual meeting, you're going to set a 1 year, a 3 year, and a 10-year goal. And it's really important that you have all of these, because 1 year is really short term. It's something everybody can work towards now. And that's where your weekly and your quarterly meetings should equal up to your annual goal or annual target. Now, you should start out with your annual goal and your target and then back into those numbers and make sure that they're accomplishable and that they meet, that there's actionable steps behind it. The way that you determine your KPIs and your other metrics to track people's activities, they should all tie into your quarterly goals, which equal your annual goals. And so we'll talk about some mistakes made there as well. What worked and didn't work this year is probably one of the most valuable discussions that you can have with all of your team members, because what they do is it causes everyone to reflect, think, and be honest. A lot of times when we're going throughout the week or the quarter, we're trying to show off, right? The team members are trying to show off. They're trying to show that they're doing their work, that they're getting things done. And a lot of times we don't stop and say, hey, I really dropped the ball. Why? Because we're on a mission, right? But at the end of the year, it's kind of like, okay, we can't do anything more to hit our goal. It's done. It's over with. So now what could we improve on? And then start jotting that down. And you've got to have a pen and paper. You got to be taking notes, and you got to then take those actions and use them to then determine what you're going to do for the next year. And what we do is we set what's called quarterly projects. And those quarterly projects are things that move the company forward. If you're familiar with EOS, it's kind of like quarterly rocks, but it's projects that will help move that company forward and ultimately accomplish the quarter or the annual targets, right? Annual goals. And so if you don't know what you were good at or bad at last year, how are you going to know what projects to implement or things to improve on in the systems of the company for the next year to make it better? I've also got written down here that, you've got to have business plans for each property and each company. This is something I did not take seriously for a long time. When you buy a property, whether it's a single family home, a commercial property, a mobile home park, apartment building, whatever it is, you have to start out with a business plan. But you also have to update that business plan annually because things change, right? And there's different things that need to be accomplished throughout the year, that if you don't reflect and you don't remap your business plan for the following year, you're going to be really far off. You set a pro forma when you buy a property, right? You think you're going to make X dollars, you're going to spend X dollars, and you're going to net X dollars, right? But there's surprises. Everybody has them. And so you just got to keep tweaking that business plan. One thing with business plans and budgets is that you really need to make sure that you're being realistic. How many of us have set business plans or budgets that were not very realistic? They were optimistic. They were things that we wanted to see happen, but we really had no way of accomplishing them unless every little thing hit right on point. Okay. And in that situation, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure. And I'm going to be really honest with you. I still make that mistake sometimes, usually not on an overall goal, but sometimes on some of the details. I'll overestimate our revenue or I'll underestimate our expenses because it's something that I couldn't predict and I wasn't conservative enough. So make sure that you're shooting for the stars, right? You're aiming high, but that it's accomplishable, because setting goals that are not accomplishable doesn't help anybody. What it does is it depresses everybody. So does that mean that we should set goals low to make sure that we hit them? No. Set them to a point that is going to push everyone beyond what they've ever been pushed before, but within reason. Make sure that it's something that your business plan can accomplish. If you expect to double your revenue in a year, but you only have, for mobile home park owners, if you only have 10 vacant lots on a 100-space community and you're at market rents already and everything's running smooth, how are you going to double your revenue in a year? You can't. So you've just got to be realistic in that sense, and then push hard on those goals. Make sure that they're, encouraging and motivating your team to do more than what they've done in the past. And then from there, they must tie into those business plans. And if you're not writing the business plans, make sure that someone on your team is, and that all people involved in those business plans and those budgets get a chance to look at them and have input. How many times have we done a pro forma How many times have we done a budget or a business plan and then just given it to everybody and said, hey, go do this? But they had no input. They had no way to say, hey, this isn't doable because of this other issue you don't know about, right? Or, maybe they see something that you don't. Hey, look, rents have increased significantly in the communities around ours. I think we can push it higher. And so you really need to get your entire team, anybody who's responsible for seeing that goal get accomplished, be involved in the budget, be involved in the business plans. And, those business plans and budgets should also tie into your 1 year, which is obvious, your 3 year and your 10-year projections. So kind of a lot of this has to do with just being systematic about what you're doing. It's not overestimating and setting unrealistic goals on each business or on each property without at least a business plan that can follow it or two that can accomplish it. All right. Let's talk a little bit about meeting with your leaders and your partners. Every year I get together with my dad, who's my biggest business partner. He's a partner in most of the communities that I own. And so him and I will usually spend a full day together. And we'll just sit down, we'll talk about each business, about the properties, things like that. And then we'll look at where we're strong and where we're weak. Okay, you guys have probably heard of a SWOT analysis. We don't necessarily do a full SWOT analysis in a formal way, but we do sit down and we just talk about, hey, where's this company strong? Where's it weak? What can we make it do this coming year? Are there any seats that we want to add, meaning people we want to add to the team in order to accomplish the business plan or the targeted revenue goals that we have? And then we just make sure that we modify those business plans accordingly, but can get with people who can make a decision that are responsible for the results and get on the same page. All right, nothing worse than rolling out your business plan to everybody or your budget for the new year to everybody, and then they look at you like you're crazy because it's not accomplishable. And then from there, what do you guys have going on in 2023? I'd really like to know, really like to find out what you guys are doing. Drop it in the comments. You can just give me 1 or 2 things that you've got that you're working on and want to accomplish this year. For me, I look at each property business plan and each property budget, but then I look at each company. So like our investment company, we have budgets and business plans and goals in that. We do the management company, the dealership, the title company, just each one of our businesses we look at and we look at the same way we look at a property. Okay, and you should be doing the same thing. For us in 2023, I'm really excited about it because I've got a mobile home park investing course coming out January 15th. So those of you who have been wanting to buy a mobile home park and either are struggling buying a park because you can't find deals, you don't have the capital, you don't know the steps, you're afraid of the risk, whatever it is, I've got a course coming out, the mobile home park course in January 16th. I think I said 15th before, January 16th. So make sure you check that out. You can go to mobilehomeparkcourse.com and you can actually put in your email and it'll keep you updated on the launch date and other stuff. So check that out. That's one thing that I'm super excited about. Secondly, I'm hiring a bunch of people that I know that we're going to need to hit our goals for next year. What I've done in the past that I feel like I made a mistake on is I set goals, but I didn't have the right people in place to accomplish them, meaning I didn't have enough people usually. And so this year we've got a massive infill plan in our business plans. And I was looking at them like, oh crap, we don't have enough people to accomplish this. So over the last 30 days or 45 days, we've made a couple of hires and I've got plans to hire at least a couple more in 2 of the companies. And so we're really spending and, putting out investments right now to hire the right people so that we can then hit the goals that we have accomplished exactly what we're talking about. Also, I've got a title company that just launched about less than 30 days ago, Celebrate Title, and you can check that out, celebratemhtitle.com. And this isn't supposed to be like a promotional video or anything, but I just want you guys to know what's going on and how maybe we can work together. If you've got mobile home titles that need to be processed, my company can do it for you. Celebrate Titles. So hired a really awesome rock star Kimberly, and she's running that company now. And so really excited to see what that does this year. And also we're buying more mobile home parks this year than I expect we did last year, and definitely the year before. We're kind of on this upward trajectory. We've taken advantage of more partnership opportunities in 2022 than ever before. And that's where I think, and that's where I'm the most excited, is to be able to do more partnership deals with people like you who are out there sourcing deals yourself, both mobile home parks and self-storage. Like I'm buying a self-storage facility right now. I'll be doing a capital raise for that in the next couple weeks here. But we plan to partner on more deals than we ever have before. And I think there's some really cool opportunities to work together there. Also, we're going to be offering third-party management services to community owners through our management company. So we're going to be operating mobile home parks in pretty much around the country, except for some of the social estates that we just won't do business in. But looking forward to team up with community owners in that way as well. So that's coming down the pipeline. If you guys are interested in doing anything with me on any of these companies, just shoot me a DM or drop it in the comments and I'll follow up with you after this, because it is live and I don't want to be like chatting and everything. But love to do business with you guys in any way possible in 2023. Let's talk about some of the mistakes that I made. Actually, I'm seeing a bunch of comments coming in. Khalid said, want to start talking to mom and pop that own parks to see if they're going to be interested in selling. That's awesome, man. That's huge. You got to go out there. You got to start talking to owners. And if you're not working new leads, if you're not talking to owners and looking at opportunities, what are you doing, right? So I see a lot of people, and I've done it in the past, procrastinate, where we're like, yeah, we're going to go out and do something. We're studying up, we're reading up, we're listening to podcasts, we're watching a lot of YouTube stuff, and that's all great. But we're not actually picking up the phone and doing the work. We're not sending out the letters. We're not taking the actions that create the leads that then we can work and close. So I love that, Khalid. Make it happen, man. Keep us posted on what's going on with that. Martin's looking to diversify my MHPs by acquiring self-storage and RV. That's awesome. We bought our first RV park this year. It's a long-term RV park, so it operates a lot like a mobile home park. We own storage, and I'm buying more storage too. So I think you're looking at the three best property types, right? Arthur, what's up, man? Hey, anyone looking to acquire a portfolio of mobile home parks in Kentucky and West Virginia? Yeah, man, I am. So make sure you DM me. You're on YouTube, so just shoot me an email, mario@mariodatillo.net. You can also just go to mariodatillo.net and plug in the deal right in there, and it talks about partnering, or I can look at that as a purchase opportunity, but definitely want to talk about those, Arthur. And then Celeste, what's up? She said, I agree with being motivated, setting goals, working towards it, and then realizing you don't have enough manpower. Yeah, you can make a huge mistake that you set these huge goals and then you look and you go, crap, I can't do all that myself, but I'm already, halfway through the year and I didn't have the right people in place early enough on to ever accomplish the goal at the end of the year. So super good. I'm glad you picked up on that as well. So let's jump in, and you guys can keep dropping, any of the goals that you have for this coming year in the chat as well. And I'd love to look at them and talk about them. Let's talk about some of the past mistakes that I've made. And this is just coming from, I started buying real estate in 2008. I was a broker before that for a couple years, but in 2008, I started buying single family homes all the way through 2014. So I made a lot of mistakes over those years. And then 2014 through, obviously 2023. So what is that, like 8-9 years, been buying mobile home parks. I've made a ton of mistakes. And the way that I look at those mistakes is that they've all happened for me. I've taken those mistakes and I've turned them into learns. And so we try and learn from our mistakes, modify our processes and procedures, and modify how we do things so that we don't make the same mistakes twice. Has it ever happened? Yeah, we've made mistakes more than once before, and those are always the most defeating feeling, because you know that you've done it before and you didn't learn from it. So hey, Andrew, what's up, man? Looking to hopefully do a deal with you in 2023, rinse and repeat. I love it, dude. Let's do it. I'm looking forward to seeing some deals come across my plate from you, and That'll be fun. So make sure you're out there hustling, man. Start right now. Don't wait until, mid-January to do it. Be talking to owners right now. Khalid, do you still invest in single-family homes? If no, why did you begin investing in parks? All right, so let's time out on the past mistakes real quick. And let me answer Khalid's question. So I don't buy single-family homes anymore just because for me, if I'm going to put in the effort to buy something, I'd rather buy something that's going to build up my wealth significantly and something that's going to produce enough cash flow to make it worth it for me. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with buying single family homes. It's a lot of work for a little bit of money. And if you're flipping them, yeah, you get chunks of cash, but that's a trading business. That's a job, and it begins to own you. I bought and flipped and wholesaled homes, for all those years. And I looked back and went, man, that's good income, but what do I have to show for it now? And so I really buy things that are scalable, so that have diversified tenant base, so multiple tenant buildings, whether it's storage or mobile home parks. I want it to where if I lose a tenant, it doesn't really affect me much. So that's why, like on mobile home parks, I look for communities with 50 or more occupied lots. In self-storage, I look for 20,000 or more square feet, net rentable square feet or more, because if I lose a tenant or two, I don't really feel it much. And a lot of times people think that they should invest in small assets because it's less risky, but I totally disagree with that. By investing in small assets with single or just a couple tenants, you can really be exposed quickly. If you lose a tenant, you're either 50% if you got a duplex or 100% vacant if you've got a single family home overnight. And that can wipe out your returns and your cash flow for an entire year very, very quickly. So I prefer to go large. I also prefer to buy assets that I can control the value. And what I mean by that is on a single family home, the home is only worth maximum what the other homes in the neighborhood are worth on a comparable basis, right? So you're looking at the value of a property based on what the neighboring property has sold for. But in commercial property, you base it on a cash flow analysis. So with commercial real estate, the more cash flow I can produce, net operating income I can produce, the higher the value of the property, which means I can have a 50-space mobile home park here and a 50-space mobile home park right down the street. And if one is producing 20% more income than the other, then it's going to be worth 20% more than the other one. So, and I might need to check the math on that because I don't think the percentage goes up on the same sliding scale. But either way, you get the point. The more income you produce, the more it's worth. And so I like to be able to force appreciation in properties very quickly and add value very quickly to properties. And you can't do that with single family homes. There are some reasons why people like to buy single family homes, and I understand those arguments too. It's just not strong enough arguments to buy them anymore. So if you need to do it and get some chunks of cash, I'd recommend taking those chunks of cash, turning around and investing them into larger cash flowing assets so that you can retire from that. You can build up real wealth from those. So super good question, Khalid. Let's jump into the past mistakes that I've made on an annual basis, kind of setting up for the new year. One of them is I just didn't have goals and I didn't have targets. And so one of the problems with not having a goal is you don't know if you're scoring or not. I mean, think about in sports. If you took away the goalie nets for soccer and you started kicking the ball around, how do you know what direction to go, right? So you're always kicking it in a different direction, chasing the next shiny object. You're not having the progress because you don't know what progress looks like. I can't tell you how many times early on I did not have a goal. I did not have a target that I was working for, and it really hurt my growth. Another mistake that I've made is I didn't communicate vision to my team. So we talked a little bit about setting goals, creating business plans, doing performas, and then making sure that the people who are responsible for it get some input. But also you need to take that vision, okay, whether it's, I don't want to say a watered down version, but a simplified version, or even just your overall vision statement. You need to get that out to your entire team and everybody you work with so that everybody can get aligned and on the same page. It's also really important to have a vision and have your core values mapped out, because with those core values, you can hire, You can fire based on those. You know if someone's going to be a good fit for the team. And also, you can see if you're going in the right direction or if you're starting to get off course. It's a good measuring tool, I guess you could say, for your company and what you're trying to accomplish. Also, so I didn't communicate the vision and what I was working towards to my team. And that really caused a lot of problems. I'll tell you one little story that just changed our company ever since. A couple of years ago, I think it was 2021. No, it was 2021, whatever. We did our first company training. And what we did is we brought everybody to Naples, Florida, where I live, and we sat down with them, and for 2 or 3 days, we trained them on all the things that we felt like they needed to learn. And we really started putting emphasis on getting everybody aligned and seeing the same vision for the company, but also that they got to know us and they got to know how to do their jobs better. We started investing in them and educating them to try and help them become the best at what they do in the industry. And I'll tell you, out of all of the things that everybody learned and all of the things that we taught, one of the biggest things that I think everybody took away is they got to know the owners of the company. They got to know where we came from and really our scale. I think a lot of times the employees being out of state, they thought we were this really large company and that we had, some big, huge corporate high-rise office and, we were this corporate conglomerate, right? And that was their vision of our company. And when they showed up and they went to our office, and they met every person on the team, it became real and it became a family and it became something that they were a part of, that they felt that they could help grow. And it wasn't just, some guy up in a high tower office, right? And I think it changed the culture of our company completely. So if you aren't doing that with your team, it's a big investment. I mean, flights, hotels, food, the whole nine, it's a big investment, but it has made it just a huge impact on the people on our team. So I highly recommend doing that. And that's also a great time to communicate the vision to your team. Also, setting overly aggressive goals without business plans and actions lined up to hit them. I can't tell you how many times I set a goal. I was like, cool, we're going to double our company size. We're going to buy this many assets next year. And then I didn't even have a business plan, or if I had a business plan, it didn't align. And for some reason, I didn't recognize that by following the business plan, there was no way I was gonna hit that doubling in size, or even whatever those goals were. I didn't have them tied together. And so really take time and make sure that you're tying that all together. It does take time and it takes effort from you and your team, but it's worth it. And then also not reviewing and revising goals throughout the year. This is something that if you don't stop on a quarterly basis and kind of remeasure where you're at and what has to happen, and if you still have the same goal for the end of the year, there's been times that we've gotten into the year, halfway through the year, and we said, whoa. We don't want that anymore. And that's okay. A lot of times we get this mindset of once we start, we can't stop because we're giving up. No, you have to be flexible. You have to be moldable. You have to change your business sometimes mid-year because things are changing. Think about COVID 2020. If you kept going on the same exact trajectory and the same business plan that you were at the beginning of 2020, halfway through the year, you were probably all jacked up and your company was probably not doing what it was supposed to. So you have to be flexible. You have to be moldable and be willing to kind of recognize when the target has moved a little bit and make those adjustments as needed. All right. And then from there, the last, second to the last is, last we'll talk about tonight is, try to self-learn and implement things. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, cool, let's do this. And I'm like, I'm going to go read 5 books. I'm going to watch a ton of YouTube videos and I'm going to go listen to 5 podcasts about it. Right. And I try and implement things on my own. And one thing that I've learned is that there's only so much information you can get from a live video like this, or from a YouTube channel, or from a podcast. There's just only so much information that can be absorbed like that, or even a book, because it's limited, right? So what I've learned is that when I want to get help doing something, or when I want to learn something and implement it really, really fast, what I do is I find somebody else who's done it and I work with them. Even if it costs me money, I don't care. I do it because I know that I can implement whatever I'm trying to implement much, much faster with somebody else's expertise. And another little tip to that is I've stopped trying to learn it all myself. So give you an example. When let's say I hire a consultant to help me with something, or I take a course, or I join a mastermind, or I do something like that, which I do all of those. Usually I'll try and bring somebody else from my team into that educational process, so that it's not just me learning it, it's the person who's going to be implementing it within my business is learning it alongside of me, so that I'm not learning it and then having to regurgitate it to them, because it never is as easy and it's a lot more work for me. So if I can leave you with one thing tonight, learn from people who have done what you're trying to do and learn directly from them. I'm not talking about podcasts and books. Learn from them. Do whatever it takes to get next to them. If that means bringing value opportunities to them where you can work together, or if they have courses or education, do it. Join their masterminds. Do whatever you have to do to get around them to learn very, very efficiently, and then bring people on your team who are responsible for implementing into that mix so that they learn alongside of you. It'll skyrocket your business. It'll change it'll change the speed in which you progress in everything that you do. Like, I'm doing 2 things right now that I'm literally in 2 courses right now, learning side by side, and it's a lot of information, but I've got people from my team learning it with me. So I'm confident that it'll get implemented, but hopefully that adds a lot of value too as well. If you guys want, drop in the comments as we're wrapping up here, what you guys are doing in 2020. To be a goal of yours, a target that you've set, or something you're going to be changing in order to be successful in 2023, even bigger than 2022. So from there, I just want to give you guys some things that I've learned that have helped me, and hopefully it helps change the trajectory of your year. And I want to wish you guys all a Merry Christmas, a late Merry Christmas, and just a really awesome 2023. Let's find ways to do business together. Let's find ways to learn from each other. And I really appreciate your time tonight. And drop in the comments if you guys got any questions or need anything. Talk to you soon. Happy New Year.